Oh, there we are, page 17. Page 17. It's a very short test. Do you just want to take a couple of minutes to just have a look at that, and then what we'll do is we'll talk some more about predicates and about people's preferences of which sense they work in. Okay, a couple of minutes on that. Page 17 in the second part of the manual. A poll of who in the room has the highest score in visual? Visual? How about auditory? Okay, auditory digital, the third one, which is huge all the way round, is actually the least popular in the world. So you may find that you've been talking to people and they don't understand you. And the last one is kinesthetic. Is kinesthetics? Okay. So it's talking about there is no right or wrong in these things, it's just the way it is. When you understand about it, and people ask me, well, what are you? Well, I think at one time I was probably digital, auditory, but as time has gone on, I've realised that I need to expand my scope, and when I'm training, I use all of them, all the time, so that I make sure I'm making contact with everybody. So, okay, who's in the therapy business? Because one of the classic questions is, how do you feel? Now, to an auditory digital, I've just done it as an experiment here, and said, how do you feel about it? To somebody that was auditory digital, and he went, well, I don't know. So if you, because a lot of people in the therapy business are kinesthetic, feeling people, it's an automatic response is, how do you feel? Now, if you're talking to somebody visual, they'll probably be going, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's about joining in with people in their model again. So there is a whole load of different words that will come with each category, but here are a few here. So visual will talk about look, appear, view, show. Okay? So here I am. I'm a manager, and I'm talking to a member of staff. Now, let me show you what to focus on so you can see what you need to do. Okay? Now, I'm a kinesthetic member of staff who says, I can't grasp that. That doesn't feel right to me. Eh? Look, it's very simple, can't you see it? No, it makes me feel very uncomfortable because they're two different languages. And often, as a matter of observation, and there's no evidence of this, that much of management speak, if you like, is visual. And much of people that are actually on the shop floor doing things, because they're more manual, they're more kinesthetic, have a different language. So management and the workforce are talking two different languages. Oh dear, no wonder you have problems with people working for bosses that don't understand what I'm talking about. Does that sound right to some of you? Does that sound as though if you listened better, that people would understand better? That's auditory. And if you like, the auditory digital is non-sense. You've moved to a different level. I still personally think if you're under pressure, you will have a preference to a sense, because that's the final line of communicating with the world. And the auditory digital are no-nonsense words, not nonsense, but no-sense words. So you would be using words like sense, experience, understand, logic, knowledge, okay? So if you want to learn this and understand it well, what you need to do is work through this in a logical way, and so that you get to understand and know how to do this. I can't see that. I can't picture that at all. It doesn't look right to me. I can't really, you know. You see how they're just very different languages, and I've got a little exercise. I know you like doing exercise because you have lots of energy when you do exercise. And on page, let me find the page number for you. Page number 20, there's a whole list of words that fit into each of the categories. Now, you're going to have your favourite column. Yes, there's going to be one of these columns which is going to be your favourite column. What I'd like you to do as an exercise, and you can move this around the group, the first person in the group starts off telling a story in visual. Any old, you make up a story. And when you've said it a little bit, you pass it on to the next person, who then talks in auditory digital. And when you've spoken in auditory digital for a bit, you pass it on to the next one who talks in auditory, and you pass it on, and then you do kinesthetic, and then you pass it on, and then you do visual, and then you come back here, you're auditory digital. So you just keep going around, telling a story, moving. Now, when you've got 4, you're going to have to move around, otherwise you're going to keep going around on the same thing. So what you're going to do is practice each of the predicate groups as you go around, because you don't normally do this. This is pushing the boundaries of how you normally communicate, but will give you a flavour of what you may need to learn to do. Because if you're not getting through to somebody, what is their preference? And if you listen to them, you will hear their preference. They had one group in the UK had a new manager that came over. They hadn't realised was kinesthetic, and they were all visual. They could all talk amongst themselves. The board of directors could talk amongst themselves in visual. The new managing director came in. He spoke in kinesthetic. They had to learn to speak kinesthetic because they had no idea what they were talking about because it was a different language. So it's a matter of stretching your ability with language. Does everybody understand the exercise? The story, you just, as you go around, just make it up as it goes along. It'll give you a good opportunity to practice metaphor building. So let's give that a whirl. I'll give you 10 minutes. We'll just see how far we can get with that in 10 minutes. So you just talk for maybe 15, 20 seconds and then pass around to the next person. And you've got the words in front of you, so it should be relatively easy. And the thing is to check where you find the most difficulty doing it, because that's the area you'll need to do some more practice. Now, remember, have a lot of fun doing this, and don't work with boring people. 10 minutes starts from now. I've just realised that the way the print has come out is the wrong way around. Okay. Of course, an auditory digital person wouldn't notice that because you're looking at the words and going, no, that's the wrong way around. So auditory and auditory digital, for some unknown reason, has been printed the wrong way round. So it's visual, auditory, auditory digital, and then kinesthetic. Okay? Right, continue. What did you learn by that as an experience?
Discover each other.
To what?
Discover each other.
Discover each other. So there is a natural one, isn't there? One where you feel most comfortable, and there is one that you really stretch to achieve. It is achievable, of course, but now you know how it works. If you're having trouble with communication with a particular person in life, maybe you need to examine the way they speak. And are you talking two different languages and missing each other totally? The art, of course, is then to move on so that you use all of them all of the time, and then adapt to people's preferences when you talk to them. So, how are we doing? What about breaking rapport? How good are you at breaking rapport? How do you know you've got rapport, first of all? What are the clues that you've got rapport with somebody?
Mirroring.
You naturally mirror, they naturally mirror you, and if you smile, they smile back. Yes.
Mirroring.
Showing interest. There is a feeling, isn't there? There's a two-way street. Yeah. A feeling of, we're connected. Giving and taking. Yeah. But almost you can start. I know what I do. You need to check with your own body on this. But I know if I get good rapport with someone, I feel quite comfortable, warm, and related. But you don't have to like somebody to have rapport with them. Because sometimes you have to work with somebody and be able to manage that relationship. So it's not about liking people, it's about being on the same wavelength as them and respecting that they have a model of the world and they may be different to you, and that communication is a two-way flow. You do need to remember that people do things for their reasons, not yours, so you need to understand a bit more about them. So you need to listen to them first, and only then do you put over your ideas. Can we try another experiment? Because you quite like this, don't you? Yeah, you learn far more by this than me standing there lecturing. And what I'm going to do is set up another experiment. Can I suggest you work with somebody completely different, just another one person? So go to another table and find somebody intelligent and witty to work with.
Everybody's gonna come to my table. It's very simple.
واضح كثير صبي.
شو العقل الراسي؟
عندي بقى
You need water?
لا عم اعمل لك شغله تصيروا مثله.
So, okay, here's the exercise. We're going to do things slightly differently. This is a serious exercise, but done with a fun person. So you find somebody to work with. You find two subjects to talk about. One you agree on, and one you disagree on. Something you agree on, and something you disagree on. What I'd like you to do is to talk about the subject you agree on with no rapport. The subject you agree on, but deliberately have no rapport. And when you stop that, you do the reverse. You talk about the thing you disagree on, but with total rapport. And let's see what happens. That sound fun?
Yes.
Yes? No laughter and enjoying yourself. Okay, so you need to find somebody to play with. I think we will give you 7 minutes for this. So somebody from a different table, spread yourself around the room and enjoy for 7 minutes, starting now.
خليت عني السيبوني اول ما حد تعرف احسن عشان حتى ما تعرفش بس انت وخدت على بعض See, that's what they call intelligent.
The one you were reading, the one this sorry, it's way around to what normally happens. See what happens. It's upside down.
See it, and then feel it, gain the kinesthesia of being able to check with your feelings that it is right. If it's not, they look up again and see it until they get it right. So what you're not knowing what people are doing, but you know how they're doing it, which of course gives me masses of information on how to deal with you. And down here is the kinesthetic. So I could have asked things like that. What would it feel like if you were sitting with wet socks on? No, not wet socks. So feeling. So if somebody is looking down here, do you remember there was an English princess? And where did she look? What was that? So you knew that she was a kind feeling person. Now whether she learned to do that or whether it was real, I don't know, but she always looked down there. And with somebody that's doing that, what would you do? You'd use feeling words. You say, how do you feel? Because that's where they are at that moment. That's how they're thinking in feelings. But of course, for you it's easy to look at the way you're seeing things.
Is that a good or bad thing?
No, none of these things are either good or bad. It's just that we have our own preferences. And if you can spot people's preferences, you simply tune into it. So people that are AD spend a lot of time actually talking to themselves. And you know who you are. And there are a few of them in this room. And the only way you can have a decent conversation is with yourself, because you're... I've been watching you. I can see you out there talking to yourselves. So how would you deal with that?
How do I feel?
No. If I'm going like that, I'm now over here, talking to myself. Okay? Here I'm talking to myself. What would you say to me then? What are you thinking about? Yeah? What's the information you're processing at the moment? Sounds very oof to me, but yeah. Okay. You don't. You don't want to tell them. You don't want to share with people. Oh, I'm very surprised at you. You're not audited digital, are you? Because you're internal, talking to yourself. He knows he's laughing, but I know I've seen him sit there going, oh. And some people over here as well. Yes, yeah, I know who you are. So what it does, you're right. It is what's going on inside is what the question you ask. If you ask an auditory digital person how they feel, what do they say? You're fine.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, he's talking to himself. I think is a better expression. Now, this is not. Can I say this is not true? This is a general map. Once again, you've got to use your calibration to notice what's going on. Because often, is there left-handed people in the room? Is there anybody left-handed? Yeah. Because sometimes they get, with left-handed people, these get flipped over. So this side goes over here, and this side comes over here. So as people look at you, you're the opposite way round to normally wired people. And of course, if you don't know this, but you do know it, because you know you've been with people for a long time, and if I'm looking at you, I don't understand this model, but however, your eyes are going the wrong way, and you're remembering something, and I'm thinking you're constructing this. I might think twice about believing you, because it's. And they used to force people that were left-handed to write with their right hand, which was cruel. Did they do that to you? But you're still left-handed. Well, we'll be interested to see whether your eyes are the opposite way round in terms of being able to map it. So can you see how all of these things are little clues, and when you start putting them together, give you an enormous toolbox of being able to relate to people at a very deep level. So, are there any questions on this? Because we're going to do an experiment in a minute. I think we'll do this in threes, because it's quite useful to have one person sitting there doing the eye movements, one person reading the questions, and one person mapping where the eyes go, and then you can compare each other's. Again, I emphasise, this is just a general map, this is not true. This is just generally how it works. You need to calibrate everybody to be able to know, how individuals work differently. But this is a good start place to work from. So we'll do this in threes. Once again, can I encourage you to move around and experiment with other people's brains? And what you've got, I've got some questions there, you've got some questions in the manual. So let's see which page it's on. Page number 27. So in groups of three, one is the person whose eyes are going to move. You can deliberately not move your eyes if you want to, but that doesn't help anybody. Just do what you would do naturally. One person read the questions. The difficulty is if you're reading the questions and then you look up, the person's eyes have already moved and you missed it. So one person reads the questions whilst the other person watches and then draws on a piece of paper where the eyes go, and then compare notes afterwards. Is that straightforward enough? It gives you masses of information of how people are thinking. Right, find two other people to play with. Two intelligent, witty, wonderful people to play with. And we'll give you 10 minutes to enjoy yourself doing this. No, we won't. We'll give you 12 minutes because I'm feeling extremely generous. It's time for you to practice. Okay, so find two other people to play with. Each person does each of the roles. Okay? each person has a go at each of the roles. Everybody clear what we're doing? 12 minutes. Starts. Put it up. Your eye movement is actually accessing your unconscious mind to bring it up. So if you've got information that's in the front of your mind, you don't need to bring it up. It's already there. And it was very interesting how you started to ask more pointed, more specific questions where people had to really go inside and start to think. Because it is a process where the people go inside, think, and then by accessing it with their eyes, bring the information up and tell you about it. So what you need to do is sharpen your skills of asking specific questions to help people draw up the information. How did the left-handed lady do? Was she not? Oh, there you are. Were her eyes the different way round? Yes, they were the other way around. Yeah, it's very interesting. So there are two things there. One is the language that people use, and that's their preferred language. And the way that people draw up information is their lead system, is how they pull the information up. It doesn't always follow that how people are pulling information up is the same way as their preferred way of speaking it, but in my experience they do go very well together. The thing is, I can't tell you what they're thinking, but it's very useful knowing how they think, because you can start to adjust your communication accordingly. And when you see people, you know that they're talking to themselves. I'm actually quite kinesthetic now. Are you kinesthetic? Do you feel hungry? So when we come back, we're going to start to explore language. Is this all helpful so far?
Yes.
Yeah? This is yes?
Yes.
This is no?
Yes.
Right. So when we come back, we're going to explore some stuff with language so that we can get even better at being able to create relationships with people. And it's down to, I think we've got 3/4 an hour, is that correct, for lunch?
Yes.
Yep, so we'll see you in 45 minutes from now.